initially we have discussed about physiology of the menstrual cycle. After that, we've discussed about different hormones which are there, which are important regulators of the physiology of the menstrual cycle. Now we will be discussing about disorders of menstruation. What are disorders? The disorders are nothing but the problems which might be associated with the menstrual cycle. Now, what could be the problems? The problems could be associated pain during the menstrual cycle, the problem associated with the regularity of the menstrual cycle, the problem that could be associated with the flow of the menstrual cycle. Now, as far as the pain during the menstrual cycle is concerned, it is called dysmenorrhea. The word dysmenorrhea comes from the Greek word. Dys means painful, menos means month, and rhea means flow. So a painful flow in the month is nothing but dysmenorrhea. Now, are there any types of dysmenorrhea? Yes, there are two types. The first is a primary dysmenorrhea, or also it is termed as spasmodic dysmenorrhea. The secondary dysmenorrhea is called as congestive dysmenorrhea. Now, what is all this primary and secondary? As the terms indicate very clearly, primary dysmenorrhea, it's called spasmodic dysmenorrhea, and it is very common in adolescent girls. When they start off with their menarche till almost 17-18 years of age, this pain is very common, and this generally is in absence of any primary pelvic disease. It just in simple word means that in absence of the disease, there is a dis-ease. Now this dis-ease affects almost 4 to 5% of the girls in a very severe manner. It just becomes mandatory for these girls to remain absent from their either school or college or from their work schedule. In 40 to 70% of the girls, this generally occurs on the first or second day of the menstrual cycle, and it disappears later on and does not necessitate any further investigations or any further treatment. It occurs as a part of normal physiologic process. Secondary dysmenorrhea is also termed as congestive dysmenorrhea, and as the term denotes, it is generally associated with some pelvic disease or pathology. Now, what are the commonest pathologies which could be associated with this secondary dysmenorrhea? There could be presence of polyp, there could be presence of fibroid, or sometimes it so happens that the uterus throws the blood out, but the cervix or the mouth of uterus from where the blood flow is supposed to come out in vagina, this cervix has become sort of cicatrized, or the mouth of cervix has closed. That is called cervical stenosis. Or sometimes the blood comes in the vagina, but for it to come outside on the perineum, there is a transverse vaginal septum which obstructs the flow of the blood from the vagina to outside on the perineum. Other important causes can include the presence of intrauterine contraceptive device, or sometimes there is a presence of associated endometriosis or some infections of the pelvic organs, and these result in painful menstruation. So by and large, we have discussed that in primary dysmenorrhea there is no disease associated, but I would say that if the pain is persistent in spite of the medication and to such a severe degree that it necessitates absence from the school or college, it is better for the girl child to go to the doctor, investigate herself well, rule out the other causes of secondary dysmenorrhea, and then come to conclusion. What are the causes of dysmenorrhea? Why should the pain be there during menstrual cycle? There are a lot of theories put forward for this. Let us understand the physiology. When the uterus is contracting and throwing the blood out from the endometrial cavity to cervix and to outside in the vagina, the myometrium or the muscle undergoes contraction leading to ischemia. We all understand the pain of heart attack. Now, this pain is something which is described similar to the pain of heart attack or angina. It is as if the muscle of the uterus is undergoing ischemia or lack of blood supply for that particular time, and that is how it leads to pain. What is the second reason? There are a lot of neuronal mechanisms involved. There are a lot of hormonal mechanisms involved. There are other chemicals called prostaglandins which are involved in the genesis of pain. What happens? There is a chemical called prostaglandin F2 alpha. Now, this prostaglandin, when liberated in the uterine cavity, which generally the levels of this are almost 3 times high in the secretory phase. We have learnt about this earlier. So, these levels are high, and these prostaglandins cause a lot of cramps in the lower abdomen. Now, these cramps may lead to the backside. They lead to the pain radiates to the thighs also. Sometimes there is associated nausea, sometimes there is associated vomiting, and so much so that these attacks of pain and nausea and vomiting and excessive bowel movements leading to diarrhea at times can lead the girl to the syncopal attacks. And at times they are so severe that the girl is rushed to the hospitals, and these are vasovagal attacks. Sometimes the pain, if it persists, as I mentioned earlier, for a longer time and in a much more severe fashion, one has to go ahead with sonography under the guidance of the doctor. I'll tell you something. In our textbooks it is written that a girl, when she starts off with the menarche and when she starts getting pain, generally she feels that getting pain in the menstrual cycle is very much normal and it is necessary because she has seen her mother suffering from pain. So a mother who has dysmenorrhea, the child or the girl child always lands up with dysmenorrhea because she feels it is a mandatory part of the normal physiological menstrual cycle. Actually, it is not so. Dysmenorrhea, it is not hereditary, but we give the girl impression in that way, which is very wrong. Physiologically, menstruation, initially 1 or 2 days if it is painful, need not be taken very seriously. Just neglect it. Ask the child to do little more exercises, control her dietetic schedule, control the obesity, control the lifestyle, have a good night's sleep with a stress-free life, and definitely that has 100% role in treating the dysmenorrhea or painful cycles. Even the practice of Surya Namaskaras, Yogasanas or any aerobic exercise for that matter is ideal and it is mandatory after the menarche to control these symptoms. But remember one thing, dysmenorrhea is not all that serious in a girl child or in an adolescent who normally faces it in the first 1 or 2 days of the menstrual cycle. I am repeating this, consider this as physiologic and do not rush to the doctor because unnecessarily that gives a psychological fear in the mind of the child that this is something horrible happening to her, and then God knows when she is going to be all right. If the threshold of tolerance is increased a little bit, the pain threshold also goes high up and the perception of pain can be reduced, improving her work efficiency or work output. Many of us have experienced an array of various dysmorphic disorder symptoms, especially just before you get the menstrual cycle. What is this called as? This is called premenstrual dysphoric disorder or premenstrual tension syndrome. What does it comprise of? It comprises of lot of mood changes, behavioral changes and physical changes. How common is this problem? This problem is so common that almost it is said that 85 to 90% of the women sometime in their life experience some time of premenstrual tension syndrome disorder. Now, why does this happen? This happens very commonly in the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle. You understand now what is luteal phase. Exactly after the process of ovulation in the body, there are 14 days before we start off with the menstruation. So these 14 days and the day of ovulation and maybe a day just prior to that, these 13-14 days, some women experience this PMDD or premenstrual dysphoric disorder. These symptoms are more common in ovulatory cycles and the symptoms are much more severe 2 to 3 days before the onset of menstrual cycle. Why does this happen? This happens because of hormonal changes. It is observed that serotonin levels are very low in the females who have PMDD. What is serotonin? Serotonin is a hormone or a type of chemical transmitter which is responsible for taking care of the depression symptoms. If the level of serotonin goes down, that is responsible for the onset of symptoms of depression. What are the symptoms which commonly are faced by these females? The symptoms are very common symptoms which include are physical symptoms which include headache, the heaviness of the body. Many a times they experience heaviness of both the breasts, swelling of the lower abdominal region. What are the behavioral changes? You feel depressed, you feel irritated, you feel there is loss of appetite, there is loss of adequate sleep. And what are the mood changes? Irritability, nervousness, depression, inability to concentrate on or focus on a particular job. These symptoms are very common in almost 40 to 80% of women who suffer from premenstrual dysphoric disorders. Now, how do we treat these disorders? Many times the symptoms get so severe that one has to go to the psychiatrist and take the counseling or the antidepressant medicine, which are medicines which increase the serotonin levels in the blood. I hope none of us would have those severe symptoms so as to necessitate the need of antidepressant drugs, but mostly the symptoms are taken care of by simple things in life. It is said life is very simple, we make it complicated. The things like exercise, regular exercising, keeping the hormonal milieu or the balance in your body, it is achieved by simple dietetic changes. What are the dietary changes? Non-spicy food, non-oily food, a food which is very much rich in antioxidants, food which is very colorful, which also is supposed to elevate your mood. That type of diet if you consume, lot of fresh fruits, salads, green leafy vegetables, sprouts, all these things are known to help you to get rid of these symptoms. Along with that, behavioral therapy, psychotherapy, relaxation techniques. In yoga abhyas, we call it as practice of yoga nidra, that is guided relaxation, meditation practices, pranayam, all are extremely useful to take care of premenstrual dysphoric disorders. Actually, this is not a disease or a problem, but we convert it to more severe degree by neglecting it or misinterpreting and misunderstanding it, and that is the reason we land up with psychiatrists. Simple understanding of life, the problems associated with you, some counseling sessions with your near or dear ones, some counseling if at all required from the counselor or from psychiatrist helps you get over your own problems in life in a better way. There are other symptoms associated in the menstrual cycle. Sometimes some girls do get menstrual migraine. Sometimes there are other symptoms associated in the menstrual cycle like heavy or painful menstruation, intermenstrual bleeding. All these other problems will be discussed in our next episode. Till then, goodbye.